Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched, Bots, and Chair Shots. We still have high hopes of delivering quality wrestling content, but if not, we'll sprinkle in some of the best talking heads the IWC has to offer. Remember, here at Botched, Bots, and Chair Shots, we call it in the ring from all the angles. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice, and joining me tonight is a former dirt sheet rider and host of Perched on the Top Rope. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Mr. Lee Walker. Lee, glad we're finally able to make this happen, man. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, and if I do say so myself.
That's it. Ric Flair. He's on the list. We will get to that. Also, tonight, coming in on his monthly installment to assert his dominance on my show, he is the lead host of the Smack Draw Network. But seriously, guys, I got to meet him in person. He's a pretty okay guy. Mr. Kyle Tyson. Kai Ty, how are you?
Oh, man. I'm about half a gallon down. I really got to pee. We'll see how long this goes for.
If you need to take
Doing
a bath,
good, man.
If you got to take a bathroom break, we can pause it for you.
No, that's a joke. I'm good. You know what, Will? You're all right. You're taller in person than I thought. I thought I was going to tower all over you botch spots people, and not you, my friend.
I'm a medium-sized guy, I feel. Medium-sized. Also,
Thanks for having me on, dude. I can't wait.
Always. Joining me tonight for the first time with audio, but the second time in reality, coming back from the long-lost Bruiser Brody episode that never made it off the cutting room floor. He is the host of Wrestling with the Truth podcast. He is BC Hunter. BC, thanks for coming back on, man. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing well. And I mean, that was the greatest episode in podcast history. It's just unfortunate it never made the light of day, but I'm excited. I think I figured out the key here. It has to be all beards when I'm on here. This is the second time I've been on a show with 4 beards, so that's the key.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I always start every episode the same way. Kai Tai, you've done this before, but I'm going to let some of the other guys come in tonight and knock it out of the park. Lee, I'm going to start with you. What particularly has you pissed off for greatness in professional wrestling this evening?
Wait, can you repeat that?
What has you pissed off for greatness this evening in professional wrestling?
What has me pissed off for greatness?
Pissed off for greatness.
Fact that Seth Rollins isn't the WWE champion right now. I guess.
Yeah? BC Hunter, what about you?
Hypocrisy in the IWC. I just watched highlights, or I actually watched Dynamite this morning, and I thought I was watching an episode of Raw from '98 for a second there with some of the stuff. We had Hardy and Christian, and we had a dumpster match, and yet there's nothing about this being sports entertainment or this being crap or anything like that. So yeah, that's what's got me pissed off for greatness.
Mr. Tyson?
Dude, I find it so hard to complain about things. That NXT isn't black and gold yet, that we have to wait.
Fair enough. Rounding out the quintuple, the quartet, is I'm going to say how little respect people gave to StarCast and what it ended up being. Like, I think a lot of people were like, oh, there's no way that's going to turn out to be a lot. And it turned out to be a blast. We were talking about it beforehand. Like, the whole show from top to bottom was awesome. The environment was awesome. I think everything about the weekend was exceptionally well done. So hats off to Conrad for that. What did you guys think of SummerSlam or Ric Flair's last match? Did you guys have a chance to watch?
Yeah.
Yeah?
SummerSlam? Yeah, I'd give it an A for a show. That was a fantastic show. As usual, they seem to be knocking out of the park with their PLEs, and that main event was insane. Loved it. The Ric Flair situation, you know what? That whole weekend was done extremely well. The pay-per-view was really good. The undercard was really solid. I just felt uncomfortable watching Flair in that match. But other than that, one thing I will say, they made Andrade look better than anything that he's done in AEW. He looked fantastic in that match. So yeah, overall, great weekend of wrestling.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, we're going to roll into some news and rumors real quick. This past week, Ric Flair released his Mount Rushmore shortly before his retirement match. He said the top 4 professional wrestlers to ever do it were Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, and Shawn Michaels. What are your initial responses when you hear this list of names?
That's a really safe answer.
Yeah.
I think that's like the world's safest Mount Rushmore, for anybody that's born between, like, from the 70s to the 90s. I think it's like the world's safest Mount Rushmore, the least controversial answer you can probably come up with.
From maybe the most controversial person in professional wrestling.
There you go.
I can't believe he didn't put himself on it.
That surprised me too, honestly, that he didn't put himself in his own top 4.
Flair's got a history of praising Shawn Michaels. Like, I will say that, like, anytime I see Flair doing interviews, the first thing that comes to mind is I believe it was the Broken Skull Sessions. Although no, that's the one where Shawn was on it. But they have just a history of those guys just write each other love letters all the time, man. Flair and Michaels do.
I think that, like you said, completely safe list. I think those 4 guys could be interchangeable on anybody's. I think he was kind of playing it safe and phoning it in. I don't think there's really anything to argue about that list, but coming from somebody like Flair, it doesn't surprise me, or it surprises me rather, that he didn't put, a Dory Funk or a Ricky the Dragon or a Harley Race or somebody, that really pushed him to the limit professionally. Because when I think Flair in the ring, as it's hard to debate and say that he wasn't one of the most important people in the business. But when you look at those 4 guys, none of those 4 guys really stand out as great Flair rivalries outside of the Michaels Flair retirement, I love you, I'm sorry match. Lee, you perked up a little bit. What's on your mind?
I just a little shocked because it was such an easy answer. But where's Seth Rollins?
Seth Rollins still, as of right now, we have been live for 6 minutes and 55 seconds. Seth Rollins still does not have the WWE title. We'll keep a tally and see. Maybe by the end of the episode, we can pull it off, Lee. We can will it into an existence. Next one on the list is Sasha and Naomi. They're being reported back by WrestlingNews.co with Bayley and her buddies, plus these 2. Is this breathing life into a women's division that has been kind of floundering?
Oh my God, finally. Yes. Like, think about it. Did you hear how the crowd popped at SummerSlam for Bayley?
It was huge. Absolutely huge.
So, every report that we've gotten from Dirt Sheets on this entire situation seems to be a different story and situation every time. This is the light at the end of the tunnel that I personally wanted. I want Sasha back. I want Naomi back. The women's division, in my opinion, was struggling since the fact that when they gave back the titles, threw them on Johnny Ace's lap there, and he became the women's tag team champions. Although now he's probably been stripped after everything that's happened to him as well. However, the women's division, the whole women's evolution that we had, it's been non-existent. They're getting the same amount of TV time that they would have back in like 2012, 2013. We're just not getting the bra and panty matches anymore. All right. So I wanted this. It's great that they're going to be coming back. Whether or not we have a women's tag team division or not, I don't see that being the case, because the main fact is there's literally no tag teams in the women's division at all for them to work with, which is something that if WWE wanted to build on, hopefully Hunter will do that. So I want them back. I think it's a great move. Hunter's obviously stepping it up, which we've seen changes that I'm sure we're going to talk about with AEW.
Dude, it's it not only is it breathing new life for the women's division, it's segueing also doubling over for NXT. Like now we have stuff for NXT people to do. Like you got to think about it, like because doubly nervous about being called up is not only are you like an NXT roster member, but like you're also a female, and you're like, damn, they're gonna have dog shit for me. Now, of course, there's a couple of exceptions. I mean, you can look at Bianca Belair, but Jesus, even then, it took Bianca well over a year on main roster before she got any traction. So yeah, it not only does it breathe new life into the women's division, but it also now will allow for optimism for NXT call-ups again. So yeah, I think it's great all around for the future. Looking forward towards building the stars of tomorrow.
BC Hunter, any opinions?
Yeah, no, I made the same comment that immediately they had a shot in the arm for the women's division with those three just showing up at SummerSlam, and it sounds like there's going to be more to come with Sasha and Naomi. So, yeah, it should be good, and I agree with Kyle. I mean, I think everybody's probably feeling a little bit better about the idea of a call up now, not just the women, but they feel like there's going to be something for them.
Reports are also coming out from SummerSlam that Liv and Ronda was cut short due to Miz and Logan running long. Do you think you would have wanted less Logan Paul and more Liv Ronda after you've seen both matches the way they were on Saturday?
No. Yeah.
Well,
this
was
isn't
quick.
a shot. It's not a shot at Liv and Ronda either. Like that's not a shot at them. I think they told the story that needed to be told. It wasn't the best executed thing there, but realistically, I mean, Liv shouldn't be able to go 15 minutes with Ronda Rousey in the ring. She needs to find a win in a hurry. Granted, like I said, the execution was still kind of weird in the end, but I felt like it should have played out like a squash match that Liv somehow squeaked by, doing something more creative than just like a sneaky roll up. So I think that they told the most obvious story there was to tell in that match. And Logan Paul and Miz killed it, man. Let's face it. Besides, you got to remember, if you cut time from the Miz, you're cutting time from Maurice, okay? And that is never all right. Maurice needs to be on the television as long as possible. That's why we hang out after Raw, because you got Miz and Mrs., okay? So no, it was good.
It's been a long time since I've had to keep a counter, but we have only been on the air for 12 minutes until somebody made a hot blonde reference. It's usually Bobby Kai Tai. This is your first one.
Dude, to belittle my comment of Maurice to just a hot blonde. Maurice is more than a hot blonde, my friend. Maurice is like the apex, okay? It's one of the reasons why Miz is the GOAT.
The Maurice is just the Mrs. wife. Matt from Smacking It Raw says less Logan, more Liv, less Ronda, more Miz. That's one way to look at that.
You can't expect me to believe that a former women's UFC champion is going to lose to the most monotonistic woman's voice I've ever heard in my life. That does not excite me in any sort of promo. And instead, she's even monotonistic when she's whining and crying about not getting her way, for Christ's sakes. I can't. No.
I am over the whining and the crying side of the Liv Morgan character. It's hard for me to take her seriously as not just as a champion, but as a commanding figure in pro wrestling. If you're going on screen and crying every time you're on screen, there's a difference between being emotional and drawing from that versus just using it as a gimmick to the point they're putting fake tears in your makeup. Like, that's where I feel like we're really pushing it too far with that. Liv, in my opinion, I've said it a million times, was the reason why the women's division needed a mid-card title, because I don't think she was ready to wear the strap long term yet, and I hate to see her first title reign just be a transitional reign.
Well, I mean, neither was Nikki ASH either when she won her Raw championship. But when it comes to Liv, she's absolutely not ready. I don't think she's good on the mic whatsoever. Her her in-ring skills are, yeah, compared to other women who are doing all sorts of backflips and jumping over the top rope. Liv Morgan's so short she can't even jump through the middle. Nothing about her excites me. So the fact that you want me to believe that she defeated a former UFC women's champion is beyond belief. We know Logan Paul can wrestle. In my opinion, I'm going to call it right now. Logan Paul could be a future WWE champion if they pushed it hard enough.
I don't know how I feel about that statement, but I can't say I disagree because I see them doing that. I could see them putting the belt on a celebrity champion. Hopefully, with Hunter back in creative control, that might not be the direction they go as a company, but you never really know with what's going on in Connecticut. But speaking of creative jobs, Madison Rain joins as the newest member of the AEW coaching staff, and they also got some new creative help and production roles coming for QT and Sanjay. What do you guys think about them promoting QT and Sanjay into creative and more active production roles in their day-to-day TV stuff, and then Madison Rain joining as a women's coach in their women's division?
It's good, man. Build that team. That's one of the legitimate criticisms about AEW is Tony Khan trying to do too much and not put more qualified people around him. Great, man. You got I don't know much about Madison Rain, but I have seen like the reception to her seems positive, so I'm gonna go that's a good thing. And then just hearing there are people being appointed to creative is good news to my ears, because as much as I love AEW, I really am like pining for stories more than just I want this belt, so I'm going to fight you to get this belt, because that is kind of right now the story depth. All of our biggest storytellers, like CM Punk and MJF, Bryan Danielson, they're all injured, so they're kind of saddled right now with little creativity. The creativity is a little bit shallow right now.
I mean, look at that group's track record of success. 83 weeks they beat Vince and all that stuff, right? I mean, Sanjay and QT. I mean, to the moon for AEW for sure. That's going to be the deciding factor in the war, I think.
I think it was something they needed once Triple H got back in his position and gained a new position. As far as Madison Rain, out of all the names, that's the only one I was not keen on. I think there's way more qualified women that they could have gotten their hands on for that position, but she's got 15 years in the business, so.
Former Knockouts champion. She had success when she was, pretty much everywhere she's gone, but she's never been that polarizing, like, head of the females division, I feel like. But she does have a history as being a good coach and match producer. So I feel like that's something that women's division is hugely lacking, is somebody that can help. That way, somebody can help them push the female division a little bit further forward, because I feel like there's a lot of times when AEW's women's division has lost a lot of traction, and it almost seems like a one-trick pony week after week with the same stuff, because I feel like on Dynamite you only see the same 3 or 4 women, and then on Rampage and Dark, like, you see them, but it's all mid-card people that aren't active in titles. So I feel like having a little bit more experience is there. But I do agree, Lee, that there are more experienced people in the business that could have taken that position, like a Mickie James. Even if she is under contract with Impact, there are ways to go about that. But the people that have good experience already is they're on the market, and they could have gotten one of these more experienced people. What are your guys' opinions about the Trios title? This is something that just popped into my mind while we were talking about AEW. Do you think they needed the Trios title, or do you think it's just another one they're throwing in the mix?
I think that is kind of like the title, though, like, since AEW's inception, like, that people have asked for, though. Like, we've gotten a ton of different titles in the meantime that we didn't ask for, but I will say, like, the Trios title, a lot of people have been asking for this ever since, like, AEW became so bloated with factions. They felt like it was necessary. So I think it's a good thing. I think there's also a really pessimistic way you could look at it, and it's just like, oh, it's something else for the Bucks to do. You know what I mean? Like it's all the Bucks. But I feel like you can't really complain about this one because this is something that people have been asking for the better part of 3 years now.
Yeah,
Gentlemen,
people loved them in ROH. You know, they were loved in WCW. You know, the early '90s, 90, 91. I believe it was defunct by '92, but they were a popular championship. And let's face it, you know, if they were popular back then with the wrestling we have today, there's so much more that we can see in trios matches that we haven't seen yet. I'm all for it.
I'm just worried about the All Atlantic title becoming the Western States championship and going the way of the dinosaur. So I don't know.
It is weird. It feels like it's just like something for Pac to tour the UK with right now, doesn't it? Because it seems like he's done 3 defenses on Dark, but all the defenses I believe have taken place in the UK under different promotions. Yeah, I don't quite know what's going on with that either.
that was kind of the point of the belt, though, was to kind of branch out and have it be spread its wings a little bit and be defended across multiple promotions and kind of be a that stepping stone for other people on other places in England, in Spain, that might not have an opportunity to see AEW a lot, but to kind of get exposed to it and putting it on a touring champion like Pac. Lee, when I was on your show, I said this is why I predicted Jay Lethal to go over Samoa Joe, was because I said that they were going to put the belt on a touring champ, and that wasn't the case. Like you nailed that one on the head by picking Joe, but that's kind of what I thought they were going to be doing with Lethal in that position with the ROH TV title, is exactly what they're doing with Pac right now, is just kind of having him go on a tour de force with that belt.
Well, it's also what the WWF did with the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship. Uh, it was part of, I believe, before it came back to the WWF, it was part of Taka Michinoku's company over in Japan. The problem was Ultimo Dragon had it and was in WCW and was boasting it around because he had won all the 9 championships over in the tournament in Japan. Uh, so like I like belts like that, and I know it feels weird, because it's an AEW championship, but it's not been defended at AEW. And that's exactly how the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship was at first, before they brought it back in '97 and had that whole light heavyweight tournament, because WCW had the cruiserweights and they literally had to get the belt back from WCW.
They did the tournament, which ended up awarding the belt to Aguayo, but he didn't end up carrying it. Michinoku ended up with it, and then Michinoku left the company and took the belt, right, Lee? Isn't that how it ended up? Because it was part of the J Crown. So when Ultimo Dragon won the 9 cruiserweight titles at the end of the tournament, he did have a WWF title in Japan while under contract with WCW, which sounds ridiculous to say out loud, but like there was that whole confusing thing when it first came out, because it didn't initially go to Taka. They had it on somebody else, and then it wasn't a defined reign, and it was a weird process. The whole like 16 months of that title was just a hot mess.
So I'm just going to do a quick plug real quick. If you actually want to hear the interview with Ultimo Dragon, where we talk about him winning the championship and everything, go to youtube.com/perched on the top rope. But the thing with that was, when Ultimo won it, he's the first person to bring a WWF title to WCW, because when he had all 9, he brought them to WCW Nitro. And if you go back and listen to commentary, they listed off only 8 out of the 9 championships. They wouldn't say WWF Light Heavyweight Championship, but WWF got wind that their title was on a WCW show, and we're like, hey, no, 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 no.
Not anymore.
So it's got an interesting history. It was one of those titles. It's just like this Mid-Atlantic Championship belt that they did. So like I said, it's weird, but you'll get used to it once it's back, and this and that. And It will never feel like a mid card belt. It'll never feel like a heavyweight championship belt. It's just there.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to dive into the meat and potatoes of the conversation. Tonight is the state of the wrestling union debate. The way this works is we're going to divide it up into 4 rounds. At the end of each round, the chat gets to award a point, and I get to award a point. And then at the end of the third round, rather, the person with the lowest score sticks around for round 4 while the 2 highest scores duke it out. Okay, I'll explain it as it goes. Ultimately, all you guys got to do is argue about wrestling for 60 seconds and 45 seconds at a time. You guys good to go?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Excellent. I'm going to start it off by random draw, and by that I mean how you popped up on my screen on Zoom, because there was a 1, a 2, and a 3 placed adjacent on the screen, and as you guys popped up and I put you into place, it picked an order for me. So that's going to be how I start things, but it changes each round. So starting in round 1 will be 2 parts, gentlemen. Each person gets 1 45-second rebuttal in this round. Part 1 is you get 60 seconds to explain why your favorite superstar deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. This is assuming whether they are or aren't, you get 60 seconds to explain why they should be. So Mr. Walker, you led off. You get 60 seconds, sir. Please explain why your favorite superstar deserves in the Hall of Fame.
Well, my favorite superstar is Owen Hart. Why does Owen Hart deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? He never really shadowed his brother. He was better than his brother. He beat him at WrestleMania 10. Look at everything he had actually accomplished in the WWF, all the championships he's won. You can name multiple great matches that man has had, multiple great promos. There's nothing else to say.
You have 30 seconds left. When you look at his career, then I'm going to ask you a question about it. When you look at his career as a champion, do you think the fact that he didn't have a long reigning heavyweight title reign affected his career at all?
Didn't affect his career at all. We all know that you don't need to win the main championship to be deserving to be in the Hall of Fame. He was also a co-leader of the Nation of Domination at one point. The man had a great tag team with Jeff Jarrett, Yokozuna, Davey Boy Smith, even his brother, Bret Hart, he teamed with Stampede Wrestling. Those guys all teamed together. Survivor Series, they had a team with Bruce, Bret, Owen, and one of the other brothers, whatever his name is, doesn't matter. Fact of the matter is, Owen Hart deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Good call, Owen Hart. Mr. BC Hunter, you are up. You have 60 seconds. Please tell us why your favorite superstar deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
My favorite superstar of all time?
Correct.
Oh, well, it's ironically Hart. It's Bret Hart. And I mean, of course he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, come on. The guy is the excellence of execution. He basically took the WWF on his back during that horrible A New Generation era and kind of helped guide it through until we got to the Attitude Era. And then he changed his character in the Attitude Era. Became the Hart Foundation, became a heel, became the best technical wrestler that you have. He brought Stone Cold to the top of the mountain. I mean, his epic feuds with Shawn Michaels. I could go on and on. Tag team specialist, whatever. How many wrestlers today talk about Bret Hart as being the influence on them for their career? So yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me for Bret Hart.
Excellent. Mr. Kyle Tyson, it's up to you. Your favorite superstar and why they deserve to be in the Hall.
Well, first ballot Hall of Famer for sure is The Miz. These accolades, before we even get to his historic in-ring accolades, let's take a look at the stuff he was doing out of the ring. Did the Real World. He did Tough Enough. He was the winner of Real World Challenge 2002 Battle of the Seasons and the 2005 The Inferno 2. He's married to Maurice. Remember, the reason why we had Daniel Bryan is because he was the rookie under The Miz on NXT. He's been the star of 6 Marine movies. He won the 05 Battle of the Network Reality Stars, and he's even a winner on the 06 season of Fear Factor. And let's not forget Miz and Mrs. following Raw. Now, when we go in the ring, he is got damn near almost 10 tag team championship reigns, two-time WWE champion, two-time Mr. Money in the Bank, 8-time Intercontinental champion, only one reign away from tying the all-time. And then not to mention, he's only about 25 days away from all-time combined days with the IC title. He won the historic Mixed Max Challenge of Season 1 with Asuka, which was fantastic.
Mr. Tyson, I have to cut you off. Your timer is out.
Hold on 1 second now. Also, he's awesome, okay?
That is the word on the street is he is in fact awesome. I'm still waiting for the verdict to come back on that. I do love to hate the Miz, so as a heel, he's doing his job. I mean, that's for sure. All right, gentlemen, that closes out the first part of round one. The second part of round one is I'm going to give each one of you a topic. You will get 60 seconds to argue how you see fit against the topic given. This is the point where each one of you is able to use your rebuttal if you see necessary. All right, BC, you're starting off. Your topic.
Question.
Yeah.
What's up,
Mr. Tyson?
What's a rebuttal?
A rebuttal is like at the end, if BC says something, and then at the end of his 60 seconds, you're like, whoa, I disagree. I want to use my rebuttal. Then you get 45 seconds to go at BC and be like, this is why you were wrong.
Okay.
You see what I mean? That's what a rebuttal is, Kyle. Did you not do debate club in high school?
No.
Man, okay. Well, I'm a nerd. BC Hunter, your topic is, sir, if the WWE folded today, what it would do for or against the evolution of pro wrestling moving forward?
Well, I mean, if WWE folded today, I mean, I cannot see that ever happening. But if it did, I don't think it helps the evolution of pro wrestling. If we're considering pro wrestling as in non-sports entertainment, I don't think it helps because as much as people hate on the WWE, it brings eyeballs to all wrestling products. It brings money to all wrestling products. It brings fans through the turnstiles for all wrestling products. You're not going to, I'm sorry, AEW is not going to vault itself up to the level of WWE unless all of a sudden pro wrestling starts moving towards that sports entertainment, that Hollywood style of things. So I don't think you're necessarily going to see a good thing if WWE folded. It's just going to be lots of what we're seeing today as far as this kind of indie-rific stuff, and then somebody's going to try to repeat what WWE does with sports entertainment. So it's just what it is. It's WWE is wrestling.
Excellent. Do either of you want to throw in a rebuttal? No? No rebuttal to that? Kyle, looks like you're thinking. No. Okay. Chat, keep in mind, you do get to award a point after everybody finishes round one. Mr. Kyle Tyson, you are up. Your topic, is pro wrestling a sport? And if it's not a sport, does that mean wrestlers aren't athletes?
Well, I got to ask you, was Peter LaFleur legitimately about to lose his gym when him and his group of misfits if his misfits and him couldn't rally and win their dodgeball tournament? Or was that Vince Vaughn and fellow actors portraying the 2004 movie Dodgeball, a true underdog story? Is being a movie stuntman a professional sport, seeing as it carries a bunch of physical requirements and carries legitimate risk and danger? Pro wrestling's not a sport. It's a television program portraying a sport. It has more in common with movies than legitimate competition. That does not mean, however, that its performers can't still be athletes. One thing that helps with being a pro wrestler is being athletically gifted. One definition does not define the other. To claim that since they aren't in legitimate competition makes them not athletes is the same as saying football and basketball players are no longer athletes during the off season. So it's not a sport at the end of the day. And to borrow a quote from Max Landis, wrestling is melodrama. Wrestling is mythology. Wrestling is action. Wrestling is comic books. The only thing wrestling isn't is wrestling.
Well said, Mr. Tyson. Well said. BC? Lee? Nothing? Well, Lee Walker, this comes to you, sir. Your topic closing out round one is pro wrestling versus sports entertainment. Are they the same thing, and should they be?
They are not the same thing, and there's a reason for that. In the early 1980s, Vince McMahon coined the term sports entertainment. Around the same time, a New York State politician was trying to get the World Wrestling Federation, not just the World Wrestling Federation, but professional wrestling banned in the state of New York. So what did Vince McMahon do? It became sports entertainment. You're getting more value from the show of not what's inside the ring, but also what is going outside of the ring as well. Professional wrestling is more about the theatrics with inside the ring, the things that we see Ric Flair do, the Arn Andersons, the Andre the Giants, your early Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage. Those were professional wrestlers. It was all about the athleticism in the ring. You get beyond that, is Vince McMahon in the 1980s coined it as sports entertainment. That's when you saw wrestling styles change within Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage. You saw more theatrics out of them, also outside of the ring, attacks outside of the ring, adding in valets and managers and these sort of things, which we'd had for a long time within pro wrestling. But now you see them getting involved in the matches and this and that. There is 100% difference between the two. Even better, when Ted Turner called Vince McMahon, he said, and I quote, "I'm getting in the pro wrestling business." Vince McMahon said, and I quote, "That's great. I'm in the sports entertainment business."
Gentlemen,
Two totally different things.
on a personal level, Mr. Walker, I would like to say I completely agree with everything you just said, but that is neither here nor there.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, if there's nobody wanting to use a rebuttal right now, it's time for me to turn it over to the chat. Chat, this is your point. You guys get to decide right now. I'm going to give you guys about 15 seconds to throw in your votes as to who you think gets the point for round one. Kyle's throwing in his 2 cents for him.
I think I deserve points for including the 2004 movie Dodgeball, A True Underdog Story. It's a classic.
Allison says that WWE and AEW are sports entertainment and other promotions and indie promotions are less sports entertainment, more pro wrestling. So the further you get from the big stage is the more pro wrestling it becomes, I think is what she's trying to say.
100% right, because you know why? A lot of us, those local homegrown talents, those indie shows, they don't need promos. They go out there and do what they do, and it's great.
All right, in the chat, we've got two for Kai and 1 for Lee. So the round 1 point is going to go to Mr. Tyson. Well played, sir.
Sweet.
There you go.
Oh, we got another one for me in there. It's a tie.
Oh, it did.
It's too late.
Sleep-
It's too late.
sneak
You
in.
announced it, man. The ref's decision's final. You can't go back.
It's my show. No. Okay. Bobby chimed in at the very last second for Lee. You know what? I make the rules. I'm going to give Lee a point too. Both of you get a point. Because fuck it. What are you winning at the end of it anyways, right? The title of Master Debater. That's what's up for grabs here, gentlemen. Starting in round 2. 3 for Lee. Ooh, got to catch them all slid in. So I am going to end it right now. I'm going to call it right now and just say I'm going to give 1 to Kyle and 1 to Lee for the participation in the chat. As we head into round 2, gentlemen, round 2, you each get 1 45-second chat about how you think a wrestler should be pushed. So you're going to get 45 seconds, and what you're going to do is outline you think their quickest route from where they're at in their career to gold. Each one of you got a random person. Mr. Kyle Tyson, you're leading off round 2.
Hold on. Any championship, right?
Any championship. I said when I sent the notes out for you guys, I did specifically say no 24/7 title. That way you can't just be like, he pins Reggie on Thursday. Boom, he's a champion. Like,
I'm just checking.
yes, I did make it a point to say no 24/7 titles. Mr. Kyle Tyson, you are up. In an oversaturated division without much TV time, how do you get Nyla Rose back to the top of the AEW women's division?
You would give me Nyla Rose, you asshole. Nyla Rose, former champion. She, she is the big heel again. The way I would do it is this: is you take Nyla Rose's path to Thunder Rosa, and put that concurrently aside Jade Cargill, because there's not many big women that Jade Cargill can go head to head. So Thunder Rosa works her way through all the baby faces as Thunder Rosa's working all the heels, and then somehow Thunder Rosa gets an impromptu low-handed victory on Thunder Rosa. However, what that'll do is that will set up the TNT, the TBS title and the AEW Women's title to clash head to head, and then you give Jade Cargill a big monster to crush. So it's not so much about getting Thunder Rosa to the title for her to be crowned champion, but to crown the largest competition you can get for Jade. That's how I would do it, is just setting her up to face Jade Cargill.
That's actually not a bad idea. Like, that's actually a pretty good call. I didn't even think about taking her and making it kind of that big play out with Jade. So I did give you Nyla Rose on purpose, Kyle, I have to admit, because I know you're an AEW person, and I was like, who would be the hardest person to get to a title picture right now? And I was like, who haven't I seen in months? Nyla Rose.
Oh my God.
But you did well, my friend, and you're holding strong. So, Lee, you're up next. Without a match at SummerSlam, KO is in limbo right now, but bringing in big bucks working from home. How do you book Owens to gold from where he sits right now?
Listen, since we just saw him end with this whole Ezekiel conspiracy theory thing, you book him in a tag team with Sami Zayn. You give them some sort of conspiracy theorist tag team name, since Sami Zayn was doing the conspiracy theory thing as well. We know they work well together. We've seen them team together. We've seen them be enemies, but we see this all the time within superstars in their own right. We know that the Usos have the championships for those gold right now. There's a very big lack of tag team in WWE, so that's why I'm sticking Kevin with Sami. Throughout the course of their feud, you have them debunk conspiracies within the bloodline. We know they want to add people to the bloodline. We're seeing guys in that, is one of their relatives in NXT, with the thoughts of Naomi coming back. She could get paired with them. Let's be honest. If stuff like that happens, let these conspiracy theory things kind of work out throughout the storyline. You can make it a very serious thing without making it a comedic role. We've seen them do the comedy thing pretty well with it, but let's see them be serious with the conspiracy theories, debunk the conspiracy theories, and win the WWE Unified Tag Team Championships.
Wow. And you came in right at your timer. So that's good soup, Lee. I do like taking Owens to the title. I think him having another shot at Roman would be a lot of fun to see. I think that would be a
He
good
won
call.
that match. He deserves a rematch. He won. He beat Roman.
Are you talking about Royal Rumble a few years ago at the Last Man Standing match?
Yeah, he beat him.
Yeah, I absolutely, completely agree. I think that was it. I'm also
beat him.
going to remind the chat, for you guys that are out there, one, you guys have another point to award at the end of this round, but also round 3 is going to be a town home style. So go ahead and start rattling in your questions for the guys. I need at least 3 questions, 3 or 4 into the chat. So let's get those rolling. BC Hunter, you, my friend, in round 2, you get 45 seconds. Yours is Shinsuke Nakamura. He's a staple on several continents, but he's grown kind of stagnant in Connecticut. How do you revamp his career and get him back to a title?
In WWE, I switch brands for him. I put him over on the Raw brand. I have him match up with Lee's favorite guy, Seth Rollins. Just make it pure badass wrestling matches. That's what Seth can do. Just like he did with Cody, he can make you look like $1 million. They just got to get that stink off him from SmackDown, from the Boogs thing, from all that. And I'm a Boogs fan, so don't get me wrong, but they got to get the stink off him. Just go back to being Shinsuke, that we know is one of the best in the business. Then after the Seth thing, you start getting them geared towards the U.S. title and Bobby Lashley. And I honestly, I'd like to see a heel turn for Nakamura, a serious heel, a deadly heel, a badass heel that's going to just rip through people. I want to see him take the title off of Bobby Lashley, and then from there, you're moving towards the unified title at that point.
I like that. I can't argue with that. I think him holding that title would make sense. He did a great job. I think in his previous title reigns, he was the IC champion, not his last reign, but his reign before that. He had a really long, successful IC title reign with a lot of defenses. So I think all of you made good arguments. Throwing it out to the chat now. Here's your time, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you another 10, 15 seconds to get ready. Let's throw some chat votes in there and see who's coming. And then you've got your town hall questions in round 3. So let's get those in. I think that it surprised me that 2 of you went mid card. Like, I honestly thought everybody would have tried to go heavyweight there. So going for a mid-card title, I thought that was kind of cool. BC got a vote. Kyle's got a vote. Kyle's got another vote. Wow.
I love you guys.
Keep in mind, too, my reason for the U.S. title is Shinsuke is the foreign guy, so he can hold that title with disdain, right?
Absolutely. Could think about the what was it, Kevin Owens' whole gimmick, the Face of America stuff, you know?
The junk was right. He wouldn't even walk on his own face, too. Oh, such good character work. I love that version of KO.
Right now, BC Kyle. So I'm going to throw my vote in to break the tie. Ooh, Matt throws it in at the very last second. BC scores the point for round 2. So, gentlemen, that throws us in a 3-way tie right now going into round 3. That's interesting. I didn't expect to see that coming. So right now we're going to start in the town hall section of it. My first question just rolled in. Right now it stands that Mr. Matt Ritter from Smackin' It Raw would like to know, Lee Walker, is there anyone on the current roster in either WWE or AEW that has a potential to reach the iconic status of The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin? You have 60 seconds, Mr. Walker. Is there anybody going to be as big as The Rock or Austin?
There's only one potential name. And the last person he lost to was 2019, and it was Baron Corbin that he lost to. He is your current unified WWE heavyweight champion, Roman Reigns. He is the only one that I can actually see kind of reaching that level, but it's kind of hard to reach that level when no one else is also on that game. Like The Rock had Austin, Brett had Austin, Hogan had Warrior, Hogan had Macho, Hogan had Andre. You gotta have people. You can't just have one. You gotta have other names to reach that elevation, to reach that level, to hit that iconic level of iconic status in professional wrestling. Right now, Roman Reigns is the only one I think that can do it. I don't see anyone in AEW being able to pull it off. And other than that, you got to have other people. So realistically, I want to say no, but Roman's the closest one.
Gentlemen, do either of you have a rebuttal? No?
It's so early. And I know I'm gonna get flack for this. I already know it. But I believe if played absolutely right, the guy is so fresh into his career, like so new. I think Wardlow has a huge ceiling. But all cards have to, like, all the pieces have to fall in the right place, starting with ditching Wardlow's world, getting rid of that shit. But I think that dude has a high ceiling, but once again, you know, it's so early, and I'm just going to be called a shill for that opinion, but that's what I think.
I got one, but it has to happen in WWE because you need that machine behind you to become The Rock or Austin. It's not going to happen in AEW, and nothing against them. It's just you need that giant machine. This is a long shot, but I like Ricky Starks, man. I like that guy. I like that promo that he did. I've liked him since NWA. I think he's even got kind of a look like The Rock almost, right? You know, smaller, obviously, but he is unreal on that mic. He can go in the ring. I don't know. That guy has got a ton of potential, and I'd love to see WWE get their hands on him and see what would happen.
No, BC, I agree with you. I think having, like, you do have a higher ceiling if WWE is behind you. They're just way more mainstream than AEW. I'll give you that. Yeah, there's your chances of success, I think, do go up, like, for mainstream success. So I agree with you on that.
All right, Mr. BC Hunter, you're up next. How do you completely avoid the Montreal screw job to where both sides get what they wanted? Brett dropping the title the night Vince wanted him to in Montreal, and Brett still having a chance to walk out a victorious, like a safe champion.
I don't know if you can do both. I don't think that Brett was going to ever screw over Vince in that way and walk away with the title. I've heard it said before, what they were worried about was Eric Bischoff saying on TV that I have the WWE or WWF champion signed to WCW at this point. So I don't know if there's ever going to be a way that you can have that. I think the only thing you can do is you have Taker replace Shawn in that match in Montreal, have him take the title off of Brett, and Brett just goes out in a classic match with him, or Stone Cold. That's the other guy that I would have put in there to take the title off, because Brett would have felt really good about putting the title on him. But there's no way that Vince is going to let him have that title the next night, not because he doesn't trust Brett, because he doesn't trust Bischoff in that situation.
Mr. Walker, Mr. Tyson, do either of you have anything you'd like to throw in on how you would have handled Montreal?
So, while I agree with BC, I wouldn't have taken Shawn out of the match. What I would have done was, if I was in Vince McMahon's shoes, I would have, in Brett's documentary, he said, you know, this is like my hometown. Let me win here tonight. I'll drop the title on Raw the next day. I would have quickly redrawn up a contract, had Vince, Shawn, Earl, and Brett sign this contract, that would be exactly what happens. If Brett doesn't go along with it, if Brett breaks the contract, Brett gets sued for money he doesn't have and would never have, type deal. For an astronomical amount of money, I would sue him, type deal, if I was Vince. That way there, I know Brett is very serious. But just like BC said, I don't think Brett would have screwed over Vince in that capacity. Brett seemed to be very loyal, and when you hear him talk about WCW now, he wasn't happy the entire time he was there, it sounds like. So that's what I would have done. Drawn up a contract. That way there, you don't have to worry about the implications of Brett taking the title with him, type deal. Brett wins in Montreal. He drops the title to Shawn the next day. And then he goes out nice and peacefully, and maybe the relationship with Vince would have been 1,000 times different than what happened.
Mr. Tyson, you have anything to add?
Nah, this one's outside my realm.
Fair enough. Well, you get the closing one for round 3, sir. Sean Waltman's jump to WWE versus Bret Hart's jump to WCW. Which do you think had the biggest impact on ratings and ending the Monday Night War?
Sean Waltman. Unfortunately, Bret, now you're also referencing a time and period that I'm not fully engrossed in, but from what I recall, Bret was never fully utilized in WCW. He does have that really awesome video of wearing like a steel plate and making like Goldberg eat that, like take that spear to the head. I do love that still to this day. But other than that, Bret never reached his potential, from what I gather, in WCW. Never reached the heights that we all kind of hold him at. While Sean Waltman went on to be a staple in one of the largest and most prolific factions in all of professional wrestling history in DX. So I think, given not so much their individual accomplishments, but what they were a part of on the larger scale, I feel like Sean Waltman kind of got the better end of the deal. Not to mention, I hope it's not in bad taste, but like, Brett went over there and like got retired like Goldberg. Well, Sean Waltman went on to like, raid WCW and have so many cool moments. Granted, he had to wear blackface at one point, and that's going to take away a lot of points. But I still think, like, when you weigh out like what they were a part of when they jumped ship, Sean Waltman got the better end of the deal. By the way, you did say Sean Waltman jumping to WWF, right?
Yeah, when he left WCW and went back to WWE. Yeah.
Fucking God, I didn't just go on a tangent on the wrong subject. But yeah. So that's just my take. That's just my take right there.
Everybody in the chat says they're still trying to figure out the rules, and I chimed in and said I absolutely am as well for this. This is why I don't do variety shows. This is just for fun.
I'm having fun, Will, by the way. I am having fun, man. I'm glad you had me on tonight.
Mr. Walker, BC, do you guys have anything to throw in on the Sean Waltman to WWF, Bret Hart to WCW argument?
Kyle hit it spot on.
Yeah.
What WCW should have done is they waited on bringing Bret Hart in. They should have brought him in the next night after everything that happened after the Montreal screw job. Because if you notice, Sean Waltman, I believe, came in like basically like right away from WCW. And you listen to his first promo, he's ripping WCW apart. He's ripping Eric Bischoff apart. That's the promo that Sean Waltman gave. We should have got out of Bret Hart on WCW Nitro the next night talking shit about Vince McMahon, WWF, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and that whole bullshit. But we didn't get that because WCW waited, and that was the beginning of the fucking up with Bret Hart and WCW.
Completely agree. I think, they definitely didn't pull the trigger quick enough. But what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I also want to add, for the fans that were actually at WCW Nitro the night that Bret Hart gave his 15-minute heartfelt speech about his brother Owen after Owen passed, fuck you. Fuck you for booing.
All right, this is a good one, and I'm just throwing this out there just to see if you guys want to chew on it for a second. Is Bret's career-ending injury by Goldberg a good justification for why wrestlers should come up from the indies with proper training instead of just recruiting athletes and throwing them through a PC?
100%. So the only thing I'm going to say is WWE just had like a recent tryout, and there wasn't many actual like pro wrestlers involved.
Dwight Howard showed up to that, right?
Yeah. And from reports, people had a bunch of injuries, concussions, and things like that. That's why I'm not a fan of this like new program with recruiting college athletes.
The next in line program?
Yeah, the rejects that the NFL and NBA aren't going to take anyway type deal.
I had it's a very Lee Walker type plug. My show last week, Lee, I hate to cut you off. I had two indie wrestlers, PJ Savage and Jay Bougie from the upper New York area, and they both said the same thing. It was like they were taught and preached to get out there, get experience, get exposure, and then WWE, the same company that was saying that, turns around and makes the next in line program, and now they're recruiting college athletes straight out of college versus these guys that have been, cutting their teeth on the indies for the last 10 years. And PJ Savage said it was kind of a smack in the face for him because he's been working so hard, and now WWE's like, okay, maybe this is what we want instead now. So just thinking about your guys' opinions on that.
To me, it strikes me as WWE behind the scenes is not unified in who they view like their talent pool should be drawn from. I feel like there's a lot of confusion backstage where they think the next generation of wrestlers are going to come from. And I feel like that's just kind of the signs of it, But I think WWE also has that habit of being short-sighted. I know it's kind of like a weak comparison, but I mean, this is also the same company that, decided they didn't want wrestling on commercials anymore. So everything became a 2 out of 3 falls. They rocked that for a month or two, and then they drop it. I feel like it's just like a short-sighted program that probably won't be around for too long.
All right, I'm going to disagree on the point because rumor has it the power plant that Goldberg came through was not a great training facility, right? You can have a guy on the indies for 10 years and he wrestles 10 matches and they're all with shitty opponents who he doesn't actually learn anything from, learn how to be a wrestler, learn how to be safe. He can have a shitty trainer that doesn't know how to train him either, only taking the money. Whereas you can put somebody through a PC that's run by WWE that has world class trainers. Is the difference is you're not putting them out there too fast, and that's what happened with Goldberg. They put him out way too fast. They taught him the basics. He wasn't somebody who knew anything about wrestling. He wasn't a fan. They just were looking for something for a ratings hike, and they put him out there too fast. And then he never gained any more skill while he was doing it either. That's the other thing. He wasn't learning from the guys that he was wrestling with. So I think it just comes down to the trainers that you're with. That's to me. I think sometimes the indie life gets overblown. We're not talking the 80s when guys were wrestling 365 nights a year. Yeah, you're going to get pretty good doing that, but you can have guys that have one match a month, basically.
I also think it comes down to the individual. I don't disagree with you, BC, but I think it also comes down to the individual with how professional they take themselves and everything too. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
All right, chat, this is your chance to chime in. Cast your vote for who you think gets the point for round 3. That was kind of cool. Some of those questions were kind of fun. I liked the Waltman, because you don't think Sean Waltman and Bret Hart being together really in a lot of ways, but when you think about those two guys jumping the companies when they did, like, it was a very crucial point. So that was a good question. I also liked Allison's question about Goldberg coming through the power plant. Like, I think that says a lot about the training process, and injuries happen. I mean, you look at what happened to Big E. It was a fluke injury by somebody who came up through, a performance center style thing. So I think that it could be a fluke accident, and I think that's how it should be approached. But it does raise the question: do these places give you enough training before they cut you loose? 1 vote for Lee coming out of round 3.
Listen, I will say this: when it comes to Bret Hart and Sean Waltman, everyone's kind of like two names you don't think to put together. But go on YouTube, look up Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid Monday Night Raw. You will see one of the best wrestling matches you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Hands down. Sean Waltman admitted it was his best wrestling match of his career.
All right, guys, I'm going to give it 5 more seconds. Ooh, there's a 1 in. 1 for Lee, 1 for Kyle. Anybody else going to chime in? Five, 4, 3, fuck it. Okay, 1 for Lee, 1 for Kyle at the end of round 3. BC Hunter, I am sorry, but it looks like I'm going to award 1 point there and 1 point there, which will put them at a tie. If I can get my little thing to work right. I'm learning how to do this this is my first day on the job, ladies and gentlemen. Boom, there they go. You should do predictions so people can vote. It'll be more interactive.
Predictions.
And another for Lee. So that was 2 for Lee, 1 for Kyle. But with Kyle and BC being in a tie, it still kind of gave me what I needed to unintentionally. So BC Hunter, the good news is you get to hang out and listen to these guys go back and forth in the final round. And you, sir...
Is that good news?
Maybe. Chat must be delayed.
It is. Yeah, I was about to say, they're probably, when they're probably like a couple moments behind.
They are just a little bit behind. So just trying to give them a few more seconds to come in. But it was a couple for Lee and 1 for Kyle. The way the final round is going to work, gentlemen, is I'm going to write down a number right now between 1 and 10. And my hands are up, so you know I won't change it. Lee, you're the guest because Kyle's here, often. So pick a number between 1 and 10.
6.
Mr. Tyson?
10.
7.
Sweet. My number was higher. I win.
I'm going to go closest without going. Allison says 6. So I'm going to say, Lee, you get first pick. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
All right. Do you want topic 1 or topic 2?
2.
Topic 2. Topic 2 stands as Vince McMahon just retired from the world of professional wrestling in his 70s. He's been the owner and majority shareholder for WWE since he bought it from his dad. He's given us so much in the world of professional wrestling. Do you think Mr. McMahon, given the opportunity, should go straight into the Hall of Fame and bypass the rest of the rules as everybody else? Has he done enough to immediately go into the Hall of Fame?
If it wasn't for Vince McMahon, number one, there'd be no WWE. There'd be no WWE Hall of Fame. There'd be nothing that we would have from the Monday Night Wars to WrestleMania 3, where we have one of the greatest professional wrestling matches of all time, Macho Man versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, or the fact that we wouldn't have that iconic body slam from Hulk Hogan to Andre the Giant. Would we see the Dwayne Rock Johnson be one of the number one movie star in all of America right now? Absolutely not, because without the WWE, there's no Dwayne the Rock Johnson. There's no Stone Cold. Would professional wrestling be at the pinnacle that it is today, to which we see it, without Vince McMahon? The answer is no. So should he bypass everything and go straight to the Hall of Fame? My answer is a straight, simple yes. Now I'm going to get a lot of criticism based on the allegations and everything like that. However, without Vince McMahon, everything we're talking about right now, this very show that we're doing right now, would not be going on if we didn't have Vince McMahon to talk about, to think about, to have the WWF, the WWE, to take it from Worldwide Wrestling Federation, Vince McMahon Sr., a basically territorial company that wasn't really outshining the rest of its competition with NWA, because NWA had territories all over America, where he was just based out of a tri-state area. Vince McMahon Jr. had a vision for his father's company that was greater and bigger than what his father ever imagined. And if it wasn't for Vince, everything that we see, that my bar, anything I do, our lives would all be different, by the way, if it wasn't for Vince McMahon. So does he get the opportunity to bypass everybody and bypass the whole kibit and caboodle on how to get voted in and this and that? Absolutely. The man started it all. The man took his dad's vision and made it 1,000 times bigger, made it 1,000,000 times more profitable. He gave us something to look forward to on Monday nights, on Thursday nights when SmackDown was on Thursday, on Friday nights, pay-per-views. The man might have had his not so good times or not have been a good person at times, but if it wasn't for what Vince did, none of it's possible. Everybody's lives who watch professional wrestling would be different if there was no Vince McMahon Jr. I mean, that's as simple as it comes.
Mr. Kyson, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do, actually. What a load of horseshit. Let me hold on, and I'll make sense of that, Lee. It's not an insult at you, my friend. let me make sense of. Let me answer this question with a question. If I go grab my car keys, have I done enough to solidify my opportunity to go get in my car and drive it? Yes, it's my fucking car. It's his company. He can go in based off of the fact it's his goddamn company. Just like Jeff Jarrett's dad can put the belt on himself because it's his damn company. You don't need any more reason other than that. You know, it's his shit, man. At the end of the day, who are we going to tell Vince? No, you can't put yourself in your own damn company. It's his toy box. We all know this. Yeah, you can go in for that alone. We don't need to justify it with all these other reasons. It's his shit. So that's my answer to that, Lee. I love you though, bro. It's a sick jacket.
So you kind of the same answer, but in a very different about way to get there.
Yeah, like we don't need to go through all the accolades. It's does this man own this Hall of Fame? He does. Does he have the keys to the metaphorical building? He does. He can get in. You know.
I bet Vince is the kind of guy that doesn't even have a key to his own house.
Well, yeah, I bet that too.
I just see that being the way it is. I see him being the kind of guy who doesn't have a key to his own house. He would be like Bruce Wayne in The Dark Knight Rises when he loses everything and he shows up and he's got to break into Wayne Manor. That's what McMahon had to do last week when he retired. He got back home to McMahon Manor and had to break into his own house. That's what happened. Damn right he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. He built that Hall of Fame, right, Kyle?
It's his garage, man. Like the man can just go walk in it. I'm in it. You know, like we don't need to complicate it and list all of the stuff that deranged, weird old man did. Just it's his.
Hey, listen, I had to like make it long to sound good.
You did. You
Which
sounded.
you did.
You sounded
You
very
sounded great,
political.
man.
That was very well done. You definitely win the award for being the most well spoken tonight. That's for sure.
I thought that was the point. I had to make it sound good.
Oh, you definitely sounded good. Kyle, that means you're up.
Oh God. God.
Your topic. I feel like I need to change your topic. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to let you honestly tell me if you feel like you want to roll with it or not. Because I honestly wrote this one for Lee, but he took the other one.
Right? What horse shit was that? Like,
Because yours, I picked that one for you because I thought you would be able to rattle off. But the topic number one is, if Paul Heyman had solidified better TV deals and pay-per-view buyouts, would ECW still be relevant in 2022?
great. Ask me about a fucking wrestling promotion I never watched a single episode of.
And now you know why I picked what I picked.
Because Lee read the notes before I sent them out.
The answer is no. The answer is no. They ECW, because it became what it became. It could not do one or the other. It either had to fail while honoring its hardcore fan base in providing the content that it was providing, or it would have to completely change its identity and alienate all of its existing fans and become like any other wish-washy like wrestling program. Now, granted, I am not the smartest man when it comes to like what like promotions were going on in the 90s. I'm honestly just not the smartest man in general, but I would think that, it just wouldn't. I think if it was going to be something, it would probably be similar to like what we get with GCW or CZW, which it's still at the end of the day is just going to be a popular indie promotion. That's the best you're going to get out of me with that question.
Do you think the best ECW would be a top indie promotion? Do you think it would be GCW, what it is today? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, because if I understand ECW correctly, besides all the controversial like death matches and hardcore matches they did, they were also home to some of the best cruiserweights in America, unless I've gotten my facts wrong. But I know that we had the likes of like Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, all touchdown there. If the YouTube videos I watch are telling me the truth. So, and I think that's kind of like what GCW is now, is there's a lot of good indie wrestlers there. And then also like some serious death matches and crazy shit also. So that's, like I said, I'm talking out my ass about a subject I barely know anything about, but
you, my friend, highly successful. Yeah, you were highly successful. That was the very Will Gray approach. You didn't really know where you were going to end up, but you sure did talk your way through it.
Yeah.
Welcome to my life, Kyle.
It's about as good as I'm going to get it for this one.
Mr. Walker, do you have a rebuttal for the ECW conversation?
I hope so.
I'm not going to rebuttal it. I could, but I'm not. I think I did good answering my question.
Oh, he's going with the standpoint he doesn't have to say anything else to get the dub, Kai. That's what Lee is saying.
It's
Bullshit,
not
man.
that, because Alex is voting for Kyle based off of my question. So I'm just to clarify, people are voting on who answered their own question, right? Like that's what we're going off.
Well,
I'm trying to steal your shine, man.
we're gonna tally the votes in the chat, and they get one. They get a point, and then BC Hunter gets a point, and that's gonna decide who the winner is. And if there's a
Yes,
tie, then it goes to me. So chat, start getting your stuff in line. Let's see. Let's tally up some votes and see who gets your vote. I'm gonna wait, Mr. BC Hunter. You got to hang on the line for just a second because I want to see who the chat votes, because it'll be really anticlimactic if you're both just like, so and so wins. That's it. And I'm like, well, fuck, episode's over. Like, no suspense. Alex is saying he knows that was just a comment for that topic. He's saying that, Kyle, I think he's saying you won the argument on the Vince argument. Like, you would have won with your rebuttal.
Cool, then give me the point.
That's not how this
stole
works. You stole the
Dude,
point.
It works by whoever they vote for. Just vote for me based off of that. You know what I mean? Just say Kyle in the chat and I get a point.
Okay, well, I haven't got any votes yet. So chat, roll it in. Let's see.
You ain't got to say why you said my name.
Say my name, say my name.
It's just, thank you. Yeah.
Around you. We're going to get a Twitch violation for singing Destiny's Child.
Jesus Christ.
Really?
Copyright infringement or whatever it is.
That'd be whack.
Lee wins simply on the fact that Kyle had a perfect argument. Allison says Kyle, damn it, because he was able to make a good point with little knowledge. They're both so damn good. If he had just listened to Will's show, he would have already heard my answer for the question. Me and Matt talked about that ECW thing like a week ago, and he was on the show, and I thought about it, and I was like, I'm curious to hear somebody else's take.
I want to speak to Alex. Alex, man, remember who came on the show with you and helped you stand up to that jerk that is always talking trash to you and Lee? Just remember, I was there for you, buddy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen.
So since we're not doing a rebuttal thing now, that's all over with, I'll give what my answer for the ECW part.
Sure, absolutely. Chat, get those votes in. Lee, go.
ECW could have survived. I mean, during that time also there were all sorts of crazy wrestling with the Japanese death matches and stuff like that. The problem was ECW, for what they were, for Americanized wrestling, were essentially ahead of their time. We saw WWF do hardcore matches, but they were like nothing like ECW had. We saw WCW do the same thing. Once they had seen what ECW was becoming and realized, oh, we kind of need that too. So if ECW could have survived, and stuck to the wrestling that they were doing. The problem is the deal with TNN folded because TNN wanted WWF. They used ECW to get to WWE. Great ploy tactic on TNN, but Paul Heyman also knew that he had a contract with TNN. He couldn't do anything to get out of it until it was over. And that was like the demise of the company. That, that's where they started losing money and everything like that. But ECW was always popular no matter what. There was always people watching. If it couldn't have survived, we wouldn't be talking about it to this day. So if he could have found another TV deal, maybe stuck with local television for a while, did the traveling with the wrestlers, because let's be honest, a lot of great talent came from ECW. It could have survived. It would have been a hard road, but he would have survived. I think ECW still would have been around today. I don't know at what capacity. I feel like it'd be like maybe it'd be bigger than what it is. Maybe we wouldn't have gotten TNA, who knows? But I think they would have survived. I think there would have been a struggle. I mean, we still talk about it. WWE ran reunion shows 2005, 2006, rebranded the company in 2008. It sucked, but it was a lot different. I still think it would have happened if, at the end of the day, they would have survived.
Kyle's back. He dropped out of nowhere. I didn't want to interrupt you. You made some good points. I think they could have stuck around for a little bit, but I don't think they would have. I don't think they could have been one of the top promotions. I think both of you made viable points. Looking at the chat, we've got 2 for Lee, 1 for Kai. So Lee, you're gonna get the chat's vote. BC Hunter, that means it's on you, sir. How did the
BC.
round 4? How did it go?
All right,
Who-
so this is
Who
a
made
tough
you that
one.
Wrestling with the Truth little hype video? You know,
This is a tough one because I want to punish both of them. One, Lee for taking the softball answer on this one, and Kyle for not bothering to watch wrestling prior to 2000. So this is a tough one. But there was a right answer to that McMahon thing, and it was Vince McMahon would never accept the nomination to the Hall of Fame. He does not like the attention to be on him. Kyle somehow managed to, in a deranged fashion, pull an answer that was pretty good out of his ass. So I'm going to give Kyle the point on this one
oh fuck yeah, BC.
and put it in your hands, Will.
The chat is screaming that Kyle should have gotten more votes than Lee anyways. No, it's tied at 2 each. They're still going back and forth about who got it. Well, I'm going to argue. I'm going to ask each one of you a quick question, okay? And I want you guys to answer this question for me honestly, as truthfully as you possibly can. And the answer to this question is going to decide who wins this debate. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Fucking asshole. No,
No.
because a sandwich has 2 slices of bread and a hot dog's only in 1.
Yeah.
So,
My answer.
ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce that Mr. BC Hunter is the winner of the State of the Union wrestling debate. I'm gonna cast my vote in all seriousness. I have to agree, man. I thought Lee had it until the very end, but I think I'm gonna have to agree with BC and give it to Kai because he's absolutely right. Like, I think that Vince is bigger than the sport, and I think that's kind of what Kai was coming at. Like, I think both of you had good points. Both of you said the same thing. Like, you both had the same way about it. But I think Kyle's point of it being bigger than that and Vince not needing it, he could just be like, I'm in now. I think that kind of gets the better grasp of it.
I can see the comments now. Like, big shocker. The guy who signs the paychecks wins the competition.
All right. That being said, Kyle, you know what that means you win?
What's that, bro?
That means you get to lead the plugs off. You get to go first. Plug your stuff. Tell everybody where to find you and what you got going on. The master debater.
Listen, you guys, I love y'all. I drank a gallon of water while we were doing this show. I finished it. I don't have time to plug anything. Just follow me on Twitter at the Kyle Tyson Show. I love all the support y'all gave me in the chat. I'll be back.
Mr. Lee Walker, plug your stuff, my friend.
You can find me anywhere and everywhere podcasts are found, from Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Red Circle, Podbean, Podbay. It is perched on the top rope. And for all those countries I am in the top 250 in Chartable, thank you. I also jumped up 113 spots today, ranked at 128 on Chartable in the United States. Thank you. You can also find us on TikTok at Perched on the Top Rope, where you can see hilarious Celine Dion memes and videos from My Heart Will Go On Selena scenes using the greatest moments in professional wrestling history. And if that doesn't tickle your fancy, go to the TikTok anyway and find the video of Kevin Sullivan, yes, the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan from WCW, getting humped by a dog. It's on my TikTok, Perched on the Top Rope. You can also find me on Twitter at Perched Top Rope. You can find me on Facebook, where I'm inching to that 10,000th like. It is facebook.com/Perched on the Top Rope. I plugged a bunch of interviews earlier. Ultimo Dragon, Booker T, Road Warrior Animal. A bunch of them are on my YouTube page, youtube.com/Perched on the Top Rope. And remember, spoiler free's the way to be.
BC Hunter, you're up.
You can find Wrestling with the Truth anywhere you get your podcasts, your favorite apps, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever. Buzzsprout, that's where we're hosted from. As far as our social media, you can find us on Twitter at WWTT Pod, or myself at BC Hunter WWTT. You can find us on Instagram at WWTT Pod. We have a Facebook page for Wrestling with the Truth. And we have a YouTube page as well. And I'd just like to point out our YouTube page. We are now at 98 subscribers. So we are 2 away from that magic 100 mark. So if 2 people from tonight's show can subscribe, that would be fan-effing-tastic. But yeah, check us out for all kinds of content. Myself and the Nightmare Jay Myers like to talk wrestling, and we have a little fun with it.
Kyle, you're back. Anything you want to add?
That felt amazing.
You should have pulled a streamer. This was the perfect opportunity for you to piss yourself on my show.
Dude, no, because like if I stand up, like a streamer, you know, where his camera is, it's still above waist. You know, the stream will get shut down. Oh man, no, you guys, awesome, man. No, seriously, like, thank you.
Well, make sure you follow RN, Mr. 8984. Is that right, Kyle? 8984?
8984 on Twitter. Allison is at just a girl
918.
Myself at the Kyle Tyson Show, and of course the Twitter, our show's page is at Smack Raw Pod, which both Allison and I moderate now together, like co-mod this stuff. Get in on the Thirst Trap Thursday tweets that we're doing. That is some of the funnest stuff that Allison does, man, when she just photoshops our faces on like random factions. It's awesome. We want to see your guys's silly thirst traps. Please don't send us dick pics. We just want to see your faces like photoshopped on other wrestlers. Like that's really all it is. Please send that to us. Be a lot of fun, I swear to God. Let's all have fun together on fucking Twitter.
Our group thread's gonna get real weird if we all start sending a bunch of photoshopped thirst traps to each other. It's going to be a unique one. All right, gentlemen, I fucked up the intro. Let's see if I can make it through the outro without looking like an idiot.
Will.
You ready? Now, as we close another episode of Botched, Pots, and Chair Shots, I want to take a minute and thank you for listening. Remind you to go wherever you do anything on the internet. Facebook, Instagram, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Literally, you have all the options. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling me how great I am or how terrible I sound. Either way, it helps the algorithm and it helps find new listeners. If you're feeling really generous and be one of the VIP people, head over to patreon.com and donate to the Smack Raw Podcast Network. You get some fantastic swag. We get some cool guests. It's a win-win for BC Hunter with Wrestling with the Truth, Lee Walker, a perch on the top rope, the Kai Tai Show from Smacked Raw Podcast. I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.